सकता है, रिसिपिएंट भी रिजेक्ट कर सकता है, कम्युनिकेट हिज एक्सेप्टेंस और रिजेक्शन। कब तक कर सकता है? दे कैन रिजेक्ट विद इन 72 hours और द टाइम ऑफ डिलीवरी ऑफ गुड्स, इट शैल बी डीम्ड टू हैव बीन एक्सेप्टेड। अगर नहीं किया 72 hours में, तो इट इज डीम्ड दैट इट विल बी एक्सेप्टेड। तो अल्टीमेटली कंसाइनर और कंसाइनी और ट्रांसपोर्टर शुड जनरेट द ई-वे बिल। दिस इज वन मोर इंटरेस्टिंग इशू। अगर आपका गुड्स जा रहा है और उसमें 25 कंसाइनमेंट्स है, आउट ऑफ 25 कंसाइनमेंट्स, मान लीजिए 20 कंसाइनमेंट्स आर वेरी वैलिड कंसाइनमेंट, दे आर हैविंग ऑल द डॉक्यूमेंट्स, एवरीथिंग इज वैलिड ई-वे बिल, बट द बैलेंस 5 consignments are having some validity issues. So what the law is saying, जो बाकी 20 कंसाइनमेंट है उसको आप भेज सकते हो, बाकी के जो 5 कंसाइनमेंट है along with the conveyance उनको डिटेन कर सकते हो. This is what is clarified in Circular 49/2018, right? So I think we have I'll just take up all these practical case laws which has come, just discuss on these issues where it is not required, like non-motorized vehicle conveyance in respect of movement of goods within such areas as notified. Yeah, if it is a exempted goods, if it is transported under customs supervision or transit cargo or empty cargo, in all these scenarios, there is no requirement to issue the e-way bill. If it is a Schedule 3 items, if it is alcoholic liquor, if it is empty cylinders for packing of LPG gas, all these cases, if the goods are going for weighbridge, for weighment purpose, and again it is coming back within the distance of 20 kilometers, then in that scenario also e-way bill is not required. So this is what is saying. Even e-way bill is not required in all these scenarios: postal package, kerosene, LPG, coral, personal or household effect, jewelries, currencies. In all these cases, e-way bill is not required. Now there is some changes in this jewelry, which will deal in little later. That is given in Rule 138. Very important for 138 is it is applicable for intrastate supply of goods. Second is it can be for supply, it can be for reasons other than supply, and it is basically applicable when the goods are for precious stones or gold. And here very important is Part B is not required to be fulfilled. You need not give the vehicle number, you need not fulfill the details of Part B. Only the details of Part A has to be given in this, what I meant to say. I think somebody disabled my share screen. Can you just?
Just a second, ma'am. I'm just checking it once. Yes.
Yes, sir. No problem. So I think this is what.
Yes, ma'am. You can do it again, ma'am. You are the host. There was some setting issue.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I think we discussed on this 138. So basically, most important is Part A has to be fulfilled and not Part B. And in case of export and import, these are the details which you have to fulfill. I think most of us know, but still, this is very important. Like if it is from unregistered person, in case of import, you have to fill the details of bill of entry. Unregistered person, you have to give the details of importers, address of importers, details of transporters. In case of export, you have to give the details of exporters details. And if it is a URP, you have to give the details. You have to give the details of pin code, details of transporters. So I think these are the common informations which we do. This is a transport updation. Transshipment, we have already disclosed. We have already disclosed how vehicle number has to be updated in each transshipments. This is the most common problem which we are having now today in day-to-day bill to and ship to, where if it is if there is a bill to and ship to, you have the different parties. Then in that case, you have to give the bill form and dispatch form, and bill to and ship to details have to be fulfilled accordingly. If the dispatch part is different and if the ship to part is different, accordingly the details has to be filled. And where the e-way bill is generated, if it is by other party, then either A or B can issue this. So if it is given by the B party, in that details also he can fill the respective details. Then what are the basic documents you have to carry? So all this physical copy except e-invoice. We had one issue where the officer has holded the goods because we did not carry the e-invoice copy. We carried the physical invoice copy, whereas as per the law, we were supposed to carry we were mandated to issue the e-invoice, but just it was introduced that e-invoice, and within 2-3 months, the officer catched out and said, you are mandated to issue invoice. So this is not a valid invoice, and accordingly, they have levied the penalty. So we argued on saying that it was still an invoice and it was just newly introduced e-invoice. So we were not able to carry that. So it is still pending before the courts. But that is also an issue now. If you don't carry the e-invoice as per the law, then e-way bill, delivery channel, and in case of imported goods, you have to update the bill of entry also. Then, as you all know, once the goods are moving, the officer will verify your goods and he will just prepare a summary report in part A, and final report he will prepare within 3 days. And if that officer is torturing you for more than 30, is not intercepting and detaining for more than 30 minutes, then you can upload your information in e-way bill 4, that is EWB 4. You can upload the information that he is detaining more than 30 minutes. And basically, I think this is what is important. And if he feels there is some evasion, then you can proceed according to the procedures what has been given. So what is the procedure generally it is followed? What they will do is, this is the most common, this is the most important circular, which has not got amended, though there is an amendment in the section 129, 130. But anyway, let us try to read what is the form which has been specified. So what he will do is, he will record your statements of the driver in MOV 1. Then he will issue an order saying that I am doing your physical verification of your conveyance, your goods and documents, and I am stopping your vehicle. That will be given in MOV 2. And then he will prepare a report within 24 hours of MOV 2, that is in e-way bill 3. Then physical verification will be completed within 3 days, and that will be given in MOV 3. And report of completion of physical verification will be in MOV 4. Final report will be in e-way bill 3. And release order will be in MOV 5. And if officer wants to detain the goods and vehicle, order of detention will be in MOV 6, and notice will be issued for detention within 7 days. So I think this is what is happening around. Once the goods are detained, they will issue the notice in MOV 7. You have to reply. Then accordingly, they will pass the order in MOV 9, and release order will be given in MOV 5, right? If they think that there is no liability of payment, immediately they will issue MOV 5 without issuing any MOV 7. Then if the owner doesn't pay anything, then if he accepts the penalty, then he will realize that he will deposit through DRC 3 and he will issue the MOV 5. But if he doesn't agree for his contention, then he will pass the order in MOV 5 and he will release the order with MOV 5. So against this order, the appellant can go for appeal, and the pre-deposit is 25% of penalty demanded. So if he is demanding say 5 lakhs, you have to pay 1,25,000 of that, right? So 25% of 5 lakhs you are supposed to pay as a pre-deposit for filing the appeal against the e-way bill. Now the one more issue what we are having is whether we have to pay in cash or whether the bank guarantee can be given. So as per section 129 C, you can also give a bank guarantee, or you can give a security to the department saying that we will deposit so that they will pass the release order. After that, you can pay this 25% of the penalty and can file the appeal under the GST law. Then proper officer will issue, if they want to confiscate the goods, then they will issue the notice in MOV 2, and order for confiscation is passed in MOV 11. So the officer has been given the power now to dispose the goods within 15 days. If you are not responding to them after the order within 15 days, they have been given the power to dispose your goods. So they can dispose based on the market value. They can set off that amount realized against your tax liability. So notice for auction will be given in DRC 7. They will give the notice for successful bidder, and accordingly they will transfer the ownership of that goods to DRC 12. So I think this is very important for us to understand. DRC 10. So very important. Within 15 days, try to reply to the officer saying that we are filing the appeal. This is the one mistake we are doing, because please do that. Otherwise, they will dispose of your goods if you are not released your goods actually. So please, if you want to file the appeal, you just may write a letter to them, or if possible, please file the appeal so that you can say that you are filing the appeal. So don't auction those goods, and accordingly they will, if the appeal is filed, then it is deemed that they will stay this auction of these goods. Otherwise, they have been given the power to dispose of those goods, right? So this all are the notice, and now no more MOV 8 is applicable. because that section 67(6) is removed, where you were giving your furnishing of bond security is given. Now rule 140 will be applicable, where you will be given INS 3 for detaining your goods, right? And there is an option given to a transporter to release their conveyance on payment of penalty of 1 lakh rupees or whichever is less. So I think this is what is given. Earlier, this option was not there. Now, after amendment, they have been given power. Okay, you release your vehicle by paying 1 lakh rupees or the penalty, whichever is less. So this is what has been given. Penalties are there. Penalties is given under section 129, section 130. Minor penalties are there. I think only in the e-way bill, we have the huge penalties compared to all other penalties. We have seen that it's the highest quantum of penalty which has been given under section 129 or 130 for not complying under the GST law, especially for the movement of goods. So in 129, they are saying if the owner is coming forward. So if the owner is coming forward, then in that case, what the penalty they have stated is 100% of the tax or 100% of penalty. So it is ultimately the 200% of tax is the penalty which has been amended from 1/1/2022. So earlier it was tax, but now it is penalty is equivalent to 200% of tax if it is a taxable goods. But if it is a exempted goods, your penalty will be 2% of value of your goods or 25,000, whichever is less, where the owner is coming forward for payment. But if owner is not coming forward for payment of this penalty, then your penalty will be the 50% of the value of goods or 200% of the taxes, whichever is higher. Or in case of exempted goods, it will be 5% of value of goods or 25,000, whichever is less. So I think this is a huge penalty which we are having in the GST law. So you have to be very careful in complying with this e-way bill provisions. Otherwise, we'll end up with these huge penalties. And I think in practice, we have seen that they are not releasing your goods if you're not paying the penalties, right? Many a times they are not releasing your goods, or if you're not giving the guarantee, they're not releasing your goods. So I think this is the most common working fund which is getting blocked because of this non-compliances. And very important is under section 17 subsection 5, it becomes your block credit also. Anyway, earlier we had this tax component. Now it is a penalty. So there is no question of availing this input tax credit also. And I always say that in 17.5, they have to remove that 129, 130, because it doesn't have any character of tax. It has completely taken the character of penalty itself, right? So this is what, and next is confiscation also. They can do whatever the goods they feel that the goods which you have carried is having a malified intention, then they have been given the power to confiscate your goods, and they can levy the fine up to 200% of your goods or penalty equivalent to 100% of your tax, penalty under 122 plus confiscation fine. Even if the goods are confiscated, they have been given the power, the title vests with the government, and they have been given the power to auction these goods also and recover their penalties also. So I think this is very important for us to understand that they can either earlier the 129 and 130 was into has to be read along with that, but now 130 is independent of 129 after the amendment in 2022. So this is what is there. So there are certain cases where the penalty is only 1,000 rupees. And we are trying to give more suggestion that please add some more scenarios here in this where your penalties will be only 1,000 rupees. Like for example, if there is some spelling mistake in the consignor, or there is an error in the PIN code what you have entered, if there is an error in the address, or there is some document number, reference number is wrong, or some HSN number is wrong, or some vehicle number is wrong, some small mistakes are done in this e-way bill generation. These are all things, please give the reference of this circular 64 and you will be levying penalty only of 1,000 rupees. You will really save this penalty because there are many cases where we are seeing because of this circular, we are able to save huge penalties actually, right? So please try to refer this circular wherever you find that it was only a clerical error or procedural error, and accordingly you may get the benefit of that. Right? And very important next is inspection once done in one state cannot be done again. So once it's already been done, there says that it cannot be again done in the other states also. So this is one more point I wanted to bring out. Then we see that many times they levy the penalties also in general penalty. If they don't find anything, they said, okay, you have to pay 25,000. This is like if there is a specific provision, then anyway, this general provision is not applicable. Only when there is no specific provision, then they can levy this. general penalties. So now let us come to the most important litigation aspect, where you can try to refer these decisions, refer these rulings, and then try to see that wherever we can try to see on what all issues you can try to look into the favoring your clients or favoring your taxpayers, so that we can, there are certain favorable decisions which has considered certain aspects, like the officer, the verification officer cannot act as an adjudicating officer. This is very important. The inspecting officer or the investigation officer, whoever is going to, or check post officer cannot play the role of an adjudicating officer. He can only verify to the extent of powers which has been given to them. But many times we see that that officer will become like an adjudicating officer. He will ask, what is the rate of tax you are paying? What is the value you are paying? What is the time of supply? What is the place of supply? All this is not within the power of the check post officer. Check post officer has to check whether there is a compliance of the section 68 along with rule 138. But many times we have seen that they are also looking into the other aspect of verification also. So they will detain the goods. For example, like these are certain cases like wrong classification of goods. So here the decision was, it was a Kerala High Court where the officer said that you have done a wrong classification. So accordingly, we will levy the penalty under 129. So this has been stated that Honorable Kerala High Court passed detention order on the ground that this was a bona fide case of dispute in the classification and directed, because it was a matter of interpretation. We don't know what is the right classification. So accordingly, you cannot levy the penalty under 129. The next aspect is undervaluation of goods. So I said that officer is asking, no, whatever the value you have stated is very undervalued, so you cannot, you will be liable for penalty. So we can write in our submission saying that they cannot question on the valuation aspect. They cannot question on the valuation of the goods in the invoice. It cannot be a ground for your detention of the goods, and accordingly under 129, so that can also be quashed. Vehicle took a different route or reached wrong destination. So if I have taken a different route, that cannot be a basis for me to levy the penalty. Ultimately, I have reached where I'm supposed to reach. I have taken which route should not be the basis, and there is no such specific intention evasion of tax because of wrong route or different route. So accordingly, that is what the allegation was discussed in this case. And interception of vehicle within a few hours of expiry of e-way bill, and adjudicating authority passed an order of detention of vehicle. So within just they have completed the expiry of e-way bill, and within 1 hour they have detained the vehicle. So they can see that they would have, because law itself allow you for 8 hours of expiry. So you cannot say that it can be detained and accordingly penalty can be levied. So they said it is only a minor procedural lapse because they have not updated the this validity of extension of that period of e-way bill. And I think we all know Satyam paper case, which is Shivam paper case, which Supreme Court has held that when there is no mala fide intention to evade the taxes because they couldn't extend the validity of e-way bill, that should not be considered, and accordingly we have got a favorable decision. So I think these all things have been considered, and based on this it can be litigated. Then goods were seized for goods being transported without invoice and e-way bill. Further confiscation was ordered. But here they have passed the order without giving any opportunity, without giving any notice. So based on the principle of natural justice, they have said that it is a seizure of, it cannot be detained, and accordingly they have said that it has to be refunded back. Then tax and invoice shown as CGST as against IGST. I already told you, even on place of supply also, if wrongly they have done some clerical error, that should not will have any impact of taxes because there is no such evasion of taxes because of this. So that's the reason they have said that it is nothing, e-way bill is very correct. Only there was a wrong mentioning of taxes instead of IGST, they have written as CGST. So that is what I think. This is also one more. Now we are seeing a lot of cases where there are favorable cases where they are saying e-way bills are issued, but there is no intention to evade the taxes. I think this will play very, very important role for us. So this is also one of the case of Bringanga Circle versus Union of India, where also they have stated that it was unintentional error. There was no intention to evade the taxes. There was a bona fide mistake, not a mala fide mistake. So accordingly, the benefit of there should not be any levy of penalty, and accordingly the courts have set aside the order and directed the tax authority to take the steps of refund of the amount which was collected by the taxpayer. So until we don't litigate on that, until we don't file the appeal against those cases, we may not able to get a favorable judgment. So I think we have to fight based on depending upon the fact of the case and depending upon the intention of the transaction. And many times we have seen that the officers will go beyond the jurisdiction. With what jurisdiction they are giving, they will go beyond that jurisdiction. So what they will do is they will just suspect your transaction. They will say, no, whatever invoice you have shown is very less. It is undervaluation. You are suspecting that some invoices you have not shown correctly. Your serial number of invoice is not correct. So some, without any basis, without any jurisdiction, they will issue the notices and accordingly they will levy the penalty. I remember in one of my e-way bill issue, the department has raised that instead of writing electronic invoice, you have given a physical invoice. So it means there is some evasion of taxes and accordingly levied the penalty. See, there is nothing wrong in issuing physical invoice or EV invoices. But that is what it is happening around. So I think it is handwritten invoice. So the officer said, no, there is some intention to evade the taxes. So they cannot go beyond the jurisdiction, right? So that is what also the court has allowed and released the goods as justification, right? Because they were accompanied by tax invoices, everything was proper, and you cannot have some illogical reason and detain the goods. So this was also one of the decision of device distributor. That is also High Court of Kerala. That is also stated on beyond jurisdiction. Then delay in delivery beyond control. That is Satyam Shivam, which I was saying now. This is one of the important case you can refer in most of your appeal cases because here it is very clearly they have considered that the goods have got delayed only because there was some rally which was going around. Because of that, the auto trolley person couldn't extend the validity of the e-way bill and the time period has expired. So it has went up to Supreme Court and the quantum was not very high, but still the court has said that there is no mala fide intention to evade the taxes. So accordingly, the benefit should be given to the taxpayer. So I think this is Satyam Shivam case you can be taken and classification cannot be questioned. So whenever the goods are going, the officer cannot question on this classification. No, your classification would not be this, that and all. That cannot be questioned by the check post officer because that is the adjudicating officer where while during the adjudication, he will verify the transaction. So that is what is given in Ramdev Trading Company and another's where they have stated that misdescription of goods, that is does not serve as a ground for detention as there is no mala fide intention. And if it is seen that one particular item is called by different name and understood in a different places. So you cannot say that there will be classification issues. So accordingly, they have stated that it cannot be questioned by the officers. Then this is most common we are having today when the goods are going for job work. I think this is the one of the most common issue, at least we are seeing in Karnataka at least. They are holding the goods and they are saying whatever the value you are showing is not correct. See, for example, I am sending my textiles to my job worker to convert into say 1,000 shirts. So what he will do, I am sending a textile of say 5 lakhs from one place to the job worker place. So I will write 5 lakh in my delivery channel and I will send to the job worker. Job worker, what he will do, he will convert that of 1 lakh textile into say 100 pieces. He will send me back those 100 shirts, but he will only collect the job work charges. So job work charges say he will be collecting 10,000 for me. So while retaining the goods of 10,000, should he write in e-way bill as 10,000 or will he write as 1,10,000 or should he write only 1,00,000? So this is the most common problem which we are having today when the goods are going for job work from principal to job worker. So according to me, it should be 1 lakh when the goods are going from principal to job worker. Again, the goods are coming from job worker to the principal. Whatever is the value for that shirt is nothing but 1 lakh plus 15,000, whatever, 10,000, whatever is the job work charges. That can be added, but in the invoice, he has to write 10,000 as job work charges. Internally, he has to write that it is of 1 lakh goods, but for which we are having a job work charges as 10,000. So if you give this explanation, the officer can give you the benefit. Otherwise, they are levying the penalty saying that your value and your invoice is not matching, right? Because job worker will raise the invoice only for job work charges. He cannot raise the invoice for material, right? So I think this is what is commonly happening around. So there is no clarity on this. We are trying to suggest to the government, please come out with a clarification in this practical scenario, how to arrive the value when the goods are coming from a job worker to a principle, right? So that is what even it is discussed in few of the cases like MKC Traders versus State of UP. It is discussed in Mohammad Kuncha and brothers. So here also they are just trying to say that whatever is the value shown in the tax invoice raised by the job worker and e-way bill generated by him should be considered as a base for issuing the e-way bill. So there are a lot of other issues. Two e-way bills can be issued. First, shorter distance. There's no such restriction that first shorter distance should be covered, then longer distance. First heavy weight should be removed, then low weight. There is nothing as such. It goes with the contractual terms with the supplier and the recipients. So failure of driver to carry tax invoice e-way bill along with the goods by mistake. He has uploaded the e-way bill. Everything is there, but he is not carrying the copy of that e-way bill. So he left all the documents behind. He documents by mistake, and there is being no allegation against transporter whose business is affected adversely on account of seizure vehicle directed to be. There's nothing like because already everything is there electronically. There is nothing physically. He has not carried the documents, so that should not be a reason for detaining your goods. And even if you see in section 145, they say even if your information is stored in the device electronically, that is also treated as document, so it should be admissible. Now let us see which are the judgments which are against the assessee. So this many times we were seeing which are the judgments which are favorable to assessee. Now let us see which are against the assessee. In one of the cases, there is a no movement in toll booth. That was the reason they were saying that you have not moved your goods through the toll from Assam to Guwahati. So accordingly, there is no movement which is showing in your toll booth. So I think today they are trying to reconcile the e-way bill with the toll booth data also. And because of this, if they are not able to trace the data with the toll booth data, then they are saying that there is some suspicion, and accordingly they are issuing the notices saying that there is an evasion of taxes. So I think this is also one of the reasons. So petitioner were very well produce toll receipts or any other information to disprove suspicion. It would involve an examination of disputed facts. So it has to be tested. Can GST be levied on the movement of goods for reasons other than supply? No, they cannot levy the GST. For example, Kia Motors has assumed that the demo vehicle did not require e-way bill. So they never knew it was not a supply. So they thought e-way bill is not required. So they just said demo car as it is. But court has clarified that any movement of goods exceeding value 50,000, even if it is not for the sale, should generate the e-way bill. So accordingly, they have done a mistake of not issuing e-way bill for demo cars. So accordingly, they are liable for penalty. And in one of the cases of this Kartik Institute case, where they have said that there is a penalty of 1.3 crore approximately for violation of section 68 and rule 139, because you have not given the details of conveyance in part B during the interstate transfer. You have not updated your vehicle details when the goods were moving from one state to the another state, and you cannot say that it is a technical error with no intention even to taxes. So accordingly, the court has held that you cannot say that it is within the 50 kilometers because the kilometers are more than 50. It has gone through more than 1200 to 1300 kilometers, and you have still not updated the vehicle details. It means there is some intention to evade the taxes. So accordingly, they have levied the penalties. So I think this is what is few cases are there which are against the assessee also. And there are some new features which they have added in the GST, this one. One is, I think you all know these transporters have been given the facility for enrollment. So they can take an enrollment by getting registered as an enrollment number so that they can have a common enrollment across the country. And accordingly, they can use that enrollment number to use their transportation vehicle. So now there is a facility in the website where they can de-enroll or deregister from being enrolled for the transporter. So that facility is there. So they no longer want to continue that registration. They can still get deregistered as a transporter. Then next also cancellation of common enrollment. I think common enrollment is you have one common enrollment for all the states. So even that also, if you don't want, you can still cancel that common enrollment. And accordingly, I think they have given only 1 month time to use that enrollment number. And after that, you cannot use that facility of enrollment. Then two-factor authentication, I think now they want for each login, the OTP will be generated while login for e-way bill and e-invoice. So that is what they are trying to control. I think Haryana has already introduced this, and slowly Karnataka also has introduced. So slowly all the states will introduce this two-factor authentication. And single sign-on for e-invoice and e-way bill. I think if you look into that feature of e-way bill or e-invoice, you will find one tab where they have said you need not log off and again go for e-way bill. In the same e-invoice portal itself, you can see the e-way bill and e-way bill click also, or in e-way bill, you can see the click of e-invoice. So that single sign-on will enough for e-invoice and e-way bill enabled. So this is also which has been activated now. So in one single window, you can see both e-invoice and e-way bill also. You need not log out and again log in for e-way bill again. You can do it in one window itself, both e-invoice and e-way bill. Then next is e-way bill cannot be generated with only SAC code for services. They have stated minimum one HSN code belonging to the goods should be mandatory. So even if the goods are going for service or any service is there should be, if you put only SAC code, that will not suffice. You also have to add one HSN codes belonging to the goods is very much mandatory. So this is very important for the e-way bill. So you have to add the goods detail also. Only SAC code will be not suffice in the e-way bill, because generally, as you know, that e-way bill is required for the movement of the goods. It is not required for supply of services. So that's the reason they brought that minimum one HSN code should be there belonging to the goods is mandatory. Then mode of transport ship is now updated as ship or road come ship. So they have just updated in that menu itself. So earlier we were showing it as a transport ship was, now they have made it as road with ship is also been added in that menu. So I think these are some new features which has been added in the e-way bill portal. So if you can just access this, you will get to know all these features. So I think this was my presentation, and I'll just take one or two few illustrations to take the answers from the participants. So for example, I have imported the goods from China and it is arrived at Mumbai airports. So again, these goods are transported from Mumbai port to factory in Pune. So whether e-way bill is required? Can anybody unmute yourself and share? Yes or no at least?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So whether you have to add that bill of entry details also is that these goods are transported from Mumbai port to factory in Pune. So in that e-way bill, whether bill of entry details has to be added or not, because it is coming, you have imported, and from this Mumbai port you have taken to Pune. Yes or no? Anything is fine, no problem. We have to add bill of entry details or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Because rule 138, sub-rule 2 says it is required that you have to add, provision says that you have to add bill of entry when the goods are from port to the other place. Right? The next is generator installed in basement of buildings being sold to landlord on termination of lease agreement. Whether e-way bill is required? Which is already installed. Now you are selling to the landlord.
No.
Is there any movement of goods?
No.
There is no movement of goods. So e-way bill is not required. Third issue is laptop is carried by an employee from Delhi to Bangalore for company work. Most of us do this. And definitely our laptop might be in a few cases will be more than 50,000. Anything is fine, yes or no?
No e-way bill will be required.
No e-way bill is required. Okay. Then LPG cylinders transported from dealership to bottling plant of oil company. I've already written an answer. There's an exemption for LPG cylinders, right? Next. Now let us see, when should generally be invoiced the raised? When the goods are cleared from the factory, right? When we are issuing this e-way bill, when the goods are starting our movement. Who should raise e-way bill? Is this right? It can be consignor or it can be consignee or transporters. Is there a threshold limit for raising e-way bill? Yes, already we have said 50,000, but what are the exceptions we have learned today? One is job work. Then One more is handicraft, right? And consignment value includes your taxable supply plus taxes, and it excludes the exempted supply. And is e-way bill is required for other supply? Yes, I have written your answer. Is e-way bill is required to be reversed when the goods are supplied by unregistered person to registered person? Yes, because the recipient is a registered person, so he has to raise the invoices. Who should raise e-way bill in such cases? It will be by the registered person. So I think this was my queries. I will just can we take the queries of this chat box now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We
Yes,
can.
I think because we are
And
already
So,
5:40.
ma'am,
Yes.
before that, I have just one question. Yesterday, like e-invoice and e-way bill site was not working properly. So there were issues regarding the generating the invoice, and because of
Yes.
that, e-way bill also was not getting generated.
Yes.
In that case, how to deal with that situation? Because obviously, that delivery part or that movement part is important for the
Correct.
uh, businessman.
Yes,
So
yes.
how to deal in that situation, ma'am?
See, in the initial year also we had this issue, and now sometimes we have this issue. What we are doing is we are taking the screenshot of that, whatever the error is showing in that window, and we are carrying that along with the e-way bill, along with these invoices and other documents, saying that there is an error in generating, and we have to move the goods because of other. So that screenshot is being considered actually. And I think yesterday it has been shared to all common medias also. So everybody were aware of that actually, that there is some issue. So I think you can carry the copy of screenshot and you can move forward actually.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am,
in
that two factor authentication which you were just telling earlier,
Yeah,
that the issue is that the OTP part is the main issue. Like in the GST part, we mainly give promoters and directors phone numbers to the GST registration part.
practitioners, yes.
So how to deal with that situation? Because every time if we'll ask for the OTPs, or the concerned person will ask for the OTPs with the
Correct,
promoter.
correct. I know they will just join. I know it's a practical issue is there, and now anyway it is about 20 crore they are considered. But these are the intricacies and suggestions which has been given to them that this has to. But it's luckily not very actively implemented in all the states now. But I think this is a practical. They are want a authentication of it. So I think that is what they're doing. I know it will be a task. It will be a challenge for all of us actually.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
in case in case any participants want to unmute themselves and ask the question, you can do so, or else I will take the questions in the chat box. Anyone, please?
मैम मैम
Yes.
मैम
Yes.
हाँ मैम, मेरा एक क्लाइंट का मूव 7 हो गया है, ठीक है ना? ओके, उसका वो पेमेंट कर दिया, गाड़ी भी लेके आ गया। लेकिन मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि हम लोग कब, मतलब हम लोग अपील में जा सकते हैं कि बिफोर मूवी 7 और आफ्टर मूवी 7 और
आफ्टर
पेमेंट
मूवी
को
9, आफ्टर मूवी 9 आप जा सकते हो।
आफ्टर मूवी 9, मतलब उसको मूवी 7 के बाद तो हम लोग को पेमेंट करने का, तो अब तो गाड़ी छोड़ेगा ना, उसके
हाँ,
पहले तो गाड़ी
एमओवी
छोड़ता
7,
नहीं है।
हाँ एमओवी 7 नोटिस है, एमओवी 9 आपका ऑर्डर है, और एमओवी 5 जो है वो रिलीज ऑर्डर है। तो
अच्छा,
अगर आप एमओवी 9 के बाद पेमेंट कर देते हो तो आपको एमओवी 5 रिलीज कर देंगे आपके गुड्स।
तो वो लोग तो पहले बोलते हैं कि एमओबी 7 दिया है, डिमांड आपको कर दिया, आप पेमेंट कर दीजिए, हम लोग गाड़ी छोड़ देंगे, माल
नहीं
भी
नहीं,
छोड़ देंगे।
आप एक गलती मत करना। आप अगर पेमेंट भी करते हो तो आप उनको एमओवी 9 पूछना और एमओवी
हाँ
5 पूछना। हमने देखा है कि बहुत जगह वो देते देते नहीं है या लेते भी नहीं है। तो आप जब भी आप पेमेंट करो तो आप एमओवी
हाँ
9 भी लेना, सेइंग दैट नील लाइबिलिटी है, कोई लाइबिलिटी नहीं है। या फिर आपको अगर अपील में भी जाना है तो आपके पास एमओवी 9 होगा तो ही आप अपील में जा सकते हो। आप एमओवी 7 के बेसिस पे नहीं जा सकते हो, तो आपको एमओवी 9 रहना बहुत जरूरी है।
अच्छा, तो मैम ये स्क्रैप जो बैटरी का जो आता है ना बाहर से, मतलब दूसरा स्टेट से आता है, तो वो जो अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन के लेके आते हैं हम लोग ना, तो इनवर्ड सप्लाई जब लेके हैं, तो हम लोग सिलेक्ट करते हैं, आदर्श को सिलेक्ट करते हैं। हम लोग रजिस्टर्ड पार्टी है, तो हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि आदर्श सिलेक्ट करते हैं। वहां पर जो टैक्स इनवॉइस और बिल ऑफ सप्लाई लिखा रहता है, ठीक है ना, तो वहां पर क्या डालेंगे? तो वहां पर तो हम लोग जो वो लोग जो मतलब जो
टैक्स
अनरजिस्टर्ड
इनवॉइस डालना
पार्टी
है
है।
ना आपको, क्योंकि टैक्स है
हाँ
उसके ऊपर।
हाँ, तो हम तो अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन से, यूआरपी से हम लोग खरीद के लेके आ रहे हैं,
हाँ
ठीक है ना?
हाँ
तो हम लोग
हाँ
पहुंचे जा रहे हैं, तो मेरे पास इनोवाट है, तो
हाँ
हम तो मेरे पास तो बिल जो देना है, जो वो उसके पास तो
हाँ
बिल ऑफ सप्लाई नहीं है, क्योंकि उन
हाँ
लोग तो माने कॉम्पोजिशन डीलर
अनरजिस्टर्ड,
नहीं
वो
है।
अनरजिस्टर्ड है ना, तो इसलिए वो
हाँ,
बिल ऑफ सप्लाई डालना है। बिल ऑफ
नहीं नहीं,
सप्लाई
बिल ऑफ
डाल।
सप्लाई बिल ऑफ सप्लाई हम बात किया था सर के मैंने डिपार्टमेंट से, तो बोले कि बिल ऑफ सप्लाई मत डालिए, ठीक है। तो क्योंकि वो लोग रजिस्टर नहीं है, तो कॉम्पोजिशन डीलर नहीं, तो बिल ऑफ सप्लाई वो लोग रजिस्टर नहीं कर पाएगा, तो वो टैक्स इनवॉइस नहीं दे पाएगा, क्योंकि वो लोग रेगुलर डीलर नहीं है। तो हम लोग डाले थे, तो ये लोग तो सर मानी रिसीट देता है ना कि ये मानी रिसीट है, तो हम लोग क्या करें, तो बोले लिख दीजिए मानी रिसीट ही लिख दीजिए। हम कहाँ लिखेंगे सर, वो तो देखा है
आई
और
थिंक कुछ
मेरे।
डिस्टरबेंस है अपने। हाँ हाँ सर, बीच में आपकी आवाज चली गई थी।
अलामुद्दीन जी, आपने थोड़ा सा आई थिंक अपना स्पीकर या माइक को थोड़ा दूर कर दिया
नहीं
था।
सर, आप इस केस में बिल ऑफ सप्लाई जो है कॉम्पोजिशन के लिए भी है, एग्जेम्प्टेड गुड्स के लिए भी है।
लेकिन तो एग्जाम्पल नहीं है ना, ये तो
आई
मतलब
नो
टैक्सेबल
एग्जेम्प्टेड
है।
भी नहीं है, वो तो रजिस्टर्ड ही नहीं है, तो एक
हाँ
प्लेन
हाँ
इनवॉइस रहेगा इसके लिए।
हाँ, तो उसको सब मानी रिसीट देता है, तो वो लोग इनवर्स मतलब कि मानी रिसीट दिया इतना में हम बेचा है, तो वही हम पकड़ दे दिया। तो
हम्म
मानी रिसीट नंबर ही हमको डाल के लेके आना पड़ रहा है, तो
हम्म
प्रॉब्लम ये तो
आई
कोई
नो।
कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट का नंबर भी तो वो लोग देख के तो फाइन मार देता है, पेनल्टी मार
हाँ
देता है।
सही है, सही है, अदर्स में था तुम्हें।
तो हाँ, आदर्श लेके लेके आ रहे मतलब सही हो रहा
हम्म
तो।
सही
ओके
है,
ओके
सही
थैंक
है।
ओके थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सो मच। एनीवन एल्स हैज एनी क्वेश्चन?
एनी क्वेश्चन ऑन एनीथिंग?
गुड इवनिंग
राहुल
मैडम।
भाई।
गुड
यस।
इवनिंग।
मैडम, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि एक हमारे क्लाइंट है जो कि ब्रोकर है। अब वो
हाँ
क्या करते हैं कि एक पार्टी से माल खरीद के दूसरे पार्टी के प्रेमाइसेस पे वो पहुंचा देते हैं डायरेक्टली। तो होता यह है कि उनका जब एक प्रेमाइसेस से बिल होता है, तो वो पार्टी को, वो ब्रोकर को तो बिल कर रहा है, लेकिन वो डिस्पैच हो रहा है पार्टी के एड्रेस पे।
हम्म
लेकिन सिंस ये पार्टी को पहले वाले बिल का डिटेल्स या जो टैक्सेबल वैल्यू नहीं डिस्क्लोज कर सकता, तो इनको भी वे बिल रेज करना पड़ता है। तो एक ही
करेक्ट
समय पे अपने को दो दो वे बिल रेज हो रहा है।
करेक्ट।
और सम टाइम क्या क्या होता है कि जब गाड़ी मूव कर जाता है, ऑलरेडी इन वे होता है, तो इनको बाद में बिल इनके पास आता है,
करेक्ट।
तब जाके ये वे बिल रेज करते हैं। तो उस सिचुएशन में दो दो बिल, वे बिल होना सही है या गलत?
नहीं वो सही है, या फिर अपना एक ऑप्शन है इसमें, अगर आप ईवे बिल में देखते हो ना, डिस्पैच फ्रॉम, शिप टू, बिल टू, चार ऑप्शन आपके पास है। जैसे बिल फ्रॉम, बिल टू, डिस्पैच फ्रॉम और शिप टू। आप उसमें भी अगर आपको ठीक है वो प्रॉफिट मार्जिन रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं करना है, तो फिर आपको दो ईवे बिल कर रहे हो, नहीं तो आप वो भी ऑप्शन कर सकते हो
हाँ,
जहाँ पे आपका ईवे बिल।
वो ऑप्शन है हमारे पास, वो चीज नहीं बोल रहा हूँ। हो क्या तो
आई नो आपको प्रॉफिट रिवील नहीं करना है अदर पार्टी को, सही है।
इशू। हेलो।
हाँ सर।
हेलो।
हेलो। हाँ सर,
राहुल
आपकी
जी
आवाज
आपकी
थोड़ी
वॉइस
सी
क्लियर
डिस्टर्ब हो
नहीं,
रही है।
राहुल जी आपकी वॉइस क्लियर नहीं है, डिस्टर्ब है।
दो बिल
हाँ
सही है, कर सकते हैं।
हाँ कर सकते हैं
हाँ, मतलब मेरा दो वे बिल होने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है ना?
नहीं है, नहीं है sir।
उससे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, ठीक है, ओके मैडम।
मैम आई
और मैम और एक क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे
अलामुद्दीन जी,
मैम।
प्लीज मेक इट शॉर्ट बिकॉज यू नो
हाँ हाँ ठीक
वी
है,
हैव
दो
लॉट ऑफ
मिनट,
टाइम
एक
सर,
मिनट
प्लीज।
एक मिनट।
हाँ।
मैम ये क्या हुआ था कि दूसरा जो अदर्स पार्टी जो रिसिपिएंट था, वो इन ईओलो भी बनाया था, लेकिन हम लोग का जो सप्लायर था उसको मालूम ही नहीं था, तो उसको अवॉइड कर दो बार वो बना के लेके चला गया। तो उसके लिए सप्लायर को नोटिस आ गया कि आपको दो बार इनवॉइस भेज, दो दो बार करके भेजा। तो उसके लिए मैक्सिमम पेनल्टी कितना होना चाहिए?
ये जो 129 को पेनल्टी है, सेम ही पेनल्टी आती है, बट सप्लायर ने नहीं किया है क्या वो गुड्स? सप्लायर ने
नहीं,
एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया
ईओबीएल
क्या?
बना
72 आवर्स में उसने एक्सेप्ट रिजेक्ट कुछ भी नहीं किया है क्या?
नहीं नहीं, मैंने मतलब डबल ई इनवॉइस बना के लेके गया, ठीक है ना।
अच्छा।
तो
हाँ
उसमें डबल, तो इसका तो सिंगल इनवॉइस है। तो सप्लायर को बोला कि आपको दो बार बना के लेके गया, तो आपको पेनल्टी भरना पड़ेगा, टैक्स तो देना ही पड़ेगा। टैक्स,
हाँ।
इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी भी ले रहा है, तो पेनल्टी का मैक्सिमम कितना होना चाहिए?
नहीं वो
वन ट्वेंटी
पेनल्टी
नाइन होता है कि 122 होना चाहिए?
एक्चुअली 122 होना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से।
हाँ
नॉट
ठीक है
कैरिंग द
ठीक।
डॉक्यूमेंट्स एज पर द रिक्वायरमेंट, बट डिपार्टमेंट आर लिविंग 129।
अच्छा, वो तो वन
मेरे हिसाब
वन
से
ट्वेंटी फाइव
122 होना चाहिए, 122
डिपार्टमेंट मांग रहा है कि 125, क्योंकि
जनरल पेनल्टी है।
25 25 50 50 1 लाख रुपया, दोनों बिल
आई
में एक
थिंक
लाख
दैट इज
रुपया मांग
बेटर। दैट इज बेटर, 125 ले रहा है तो दैट इज द बेस्ट।
रहा है। ओके थैंक यू।
मैम एक केस में क्या हुआ था ना, व्हाट्सएप पे ना एसएससी ने, उसके ट्रांसपोर्टर ने वेबिल और इनवॉइस शो किया, बट द ऑफिसर हैड demanded penalty and he did not accept it because he told that as per the act it is mentioned in conveyance of goods, the documents must be in conveyance. So in that case, is there any course of remedy?
No, we have fought, but during COVID they have given this relaxation. We had fought for this case and we got it favorable because it is a way of communication. And today, that is also the way, though the WhatsApp is not the mode of service of
Yes.
notice and all, that is okay, but that is the only the way where we can transship those documents through WhatsApp. So I think that has been considered actually. So as
Okay,
long
ma'am.
as the
Actually,
documents are
yeah.
valid and all the
Yeah,
supportings are
documents
valid
were
and
valid, but the
ah,
officer did not even look into the documents and told, since you don't carry the hard copies with you, I will not accept it.
no,
That's what.
I think we have few decisions on this, and backend they can also verify from their portal also.
Yes, they can also verify.
They can also verify. So I
And
think
ma'am,
with that basis, yeah.
regarding undervaluation of goods, what you said, that the officers cannot question the
Yes, they cannot
valuation.
question. Yes.
Is there any provision which is mentioned that they cannot question? Because in many of the cases they are questioning the valuation and are doing a 10 to 20% value addition to the goods and are demanding penalty, and the SSCs are also paying the penalty. So is there any kind of provision or
I think you can refer section 68 where they have been given the power to intercept the vehicle and verify whether the documents as required along with the movement of goods is produced or not. So to that extent, they have to look into the genuinity of the transaction and movement of the transaction, not on the valuations or the classification. That is a power which has been given to the adjudicating officer and not to the check post officer. Because what has happened, most of the check post officers have come from audit range and so they still carry that back
yes?
mindset of that verification. So I think that is what, but actually they are supposed to verify only to the extent what power has been enforced on them.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, is the amnesty scheme applicable to the time-barred appeals in under section 129 also? Is it applicable?
No, it is only for 73 and 74.
74.
Yes, under the GST.
Okay, and ma'am, my last question is in the case of geophones which were transported to any state, which was told to be the security deposit for a couple of years, is Rule 55 applicable to that? Because there's one litigation of my client currently going on. They are saying that Rule 55 is not applicable, but we are vehemently fighting that Rule 55 shall be applicable in this case because the transportation was done without
Supply.
any invoice. Yeah.
Any invoice, yeah.
Yes.
And it was other than supply.
Other than supply, yes. So, but in the list of Rule 55, this kind of point is not mentioned.
Considered, yeah, not specific, but
Yeah,
we are just
specific.
trying to read the general reading of that law.
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
you can bring this point to the fitment committee if required.
Okay.
I think that can get
Ma'am,
added.
I'll take some questions from the chat box also. Yeah.
There is one
Please.
question for Atulji, time period to file an appeal.
Yeah, it's enforcement case, so I think.
No, even if it is a check post, this 129 with that, even the time limit is same, 3 months plus 1
Yeah.
month. Whatever the
Thank-
time limit applicable under 107 to other appeals, the same time limit is applicable for e-way bill appeal also.
Okay, ma'am. And there's one question. In case of sale of four-wheelers from showroom, whether e-waybill is required? No, it's not required.
No, we have already given.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, it's already been discussed. Yeah.
Yes, yes. In case of valuable goods moved by person taking ticket reservation through railway without handed over the goods to the railway authority, what will be railway receipt document number in e-waybill?
Can you just repeat?
Yeah, ma'am, just a second. In case of valuable goods moved by person taking ticket reservation through railway without handing over the goods to the railway authority,
Oh, it's a
what will
personal
be the
baggage
railway
then.
receipt?
It's a personal baggage.
It's a personal baggage. Okay. Okay. Which consignment? Okay. Okay. Which consignment value in INR to be mentioned in e-waybill in case of export or zero rated supply where the export invoice is in foreign currency, as the foreign currency rate is applied to derive the value, the invoice value in INR, foreign exchange rate of which date is to be considered?
The day when you're generating your e-way bill, at that point of time, whatever the custom, there is a rate which will get notified.
Yes,
that
yes.
can get converted and can get added.
Okay. Ma'am, if e-invoice applicable from August 23rd, but the client did from October, can there be any penalty?
No such might be. There's no such other than that general penalties. There should not be any other penalty. Because that's what I said. During movement, if there is any, if they have catch hold of that goods, then there is a penalty.
Okay,
Otherwise, it
no,
will be
ma'am.
non-compliance of
No,
invoices.
actually, he's asking something else. He's gone out of the way, asking that in case he hasn't generated the e-invoice when he was
Oh.
supposed to.
Okay, okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. That is
Then
anyway, now we cannot.
yes, sir. The penalty is shall be applicable. If Priyanka Rati has asked if we are transferring from factory 1 to factory 2 for some work and it will come back to factory 1, then which option should we select?
Within what span of time it is coming actually? Whenever there is a movement, irrespective of the time limit.
Yeah, and the location of the factory also, is it
Yes.
in the same premises? Okay.
Yeah.
Suppose goods are moving from Kolkata to Maharashtra by the supplier in Kolkata to buyer in Maharashtra. Goods are moving from Kolkata to Maharashtra by a supplier in Kolkata to buyer in Maharashtra. While the goods are on the way, Maharashtra buyer sold the goods to another buyer who is located in Delhi. How the way will be generated when the Maharashtra buyer sold the goods to Delhi buyer and the goods are still on the way?
No, whether one more invoice is generated, because against the invoice which is raised from Calcutta to Mumbai, already one invoice is generated, one e-way bill is already generated. So from where, if there is a transshipment, there is a rule where if they are transshipping to the other conveyance, or is it the same conveyance? If they are transshipping to the other conveyances, then accordingly that details can be amended in Part B, and accordingly the goods can be shifted to other conveyances.
And it's a very common case because this happens quite often.
Yes. So that can get updated.
Atul ji has a question. Pallavi, can you please take it up? Okay, if a motorized vehicle is not used to carry goods, e-way bill required.
There is no movement of goods, there is no
Yes.
requirement of e-way bill.
Okay. No, he's telling if a motorized vehicle, okay.
Oh, if vehicle itself is moving in that vehicle, how it
Yes.
is moving?
Yes, it's not used to carry.
His question, if motorized vehicle means suppose a cart is used or the cycle van kind of has been
It's
used.
not
No, there is an
yes,
exemption,
yes,
non-motorized,
there is an
that is an
exemption.
exemption for that in annexure, yeah.
Is there anyone who wants to ask any question, or ma'am, can we take it ahead and give the closure?
Yes. Anybody has anything or any questions where it was missed out or anything for the
Rojit Sarkar is
clarification?
asking if party gets summoned under section 70, if party wrongly availed IC. It's an ITC question, ma'am. Should we take it or should we?
It's okay, we'll take, no problem.
Sorry?
We can take it if time.
If party gets summoned under section 70 for how to tackle it? It's
how to tackle it?
Yes, it is a very subjective
inquiry.
case,
Yeah, it's a subjective.
What are the
We have
facts
to
of the
verify the
matter?
facts also. Yeah.
Yes.
Because he has mentioned that party has wrongly availed ITC.
Okay, then
Yes,
it is,
yes.
see, as of, see, in brief, we can understand that 70 is only an inquiry. So they will be conducting inquiry under 70 by issuing the summons. Based on your reply and based on your submissions, they will proceed either for adjudication or for inspection under 67.
Yes, ma'am, and DGGST is quite active right now. all over
Yes,
India.
very active, hyperactive.
Okay, ma'am, then can we go ahead
Yes, we can
with the
continue.
closing remarks also?
Yes, sir.
I would first of all, I would like to thank Annapurna ma'am for the wonderful presentation and the deliberation. Ma'am has extensively covered section 129, place of supply and place of delivery. What is movement of goods? A common man can also get enrolled in e-Waybill portal. Section 68, interception of goods, Rule 138 and Rule 138A, definition of handcraft goods, reason for e-Waybill. Ma'am, in this, I would just ask one question. If the purchaser returns the goods, means it's a debit note, and he issues an e-waybill. So, under which subtype will he
There is
choose?
a clause also, return of goods. There's a,
Return of goods.
yeah.
But ma'am, it's the case of outward. Means in the outward type, there's no option of return of goods. I
There
think
are others.
you have to choose others. Okay. Okay. Ma'am has also extensively covered Rule 55 RFID. Also, circular number 68 by 38 2018, section 145, section 68. All the penalties section of 129, 130, 122, 125. Also, section 67(6) has been done away with. Also, all the new features which are present in the e-waybill portal. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
all the participants who have joined in on month end, thank you so much. Thank you, Pallavi, and all the organizers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Ma'am, participants are also asking for your PPT.
Yeah, it will be shared. I'll share to the, you have the email ID of the participants.
Yes, ma'am. Or else you can also share it on the chat box also if you want to right now, because the participants can download it.
Yeah.
from you.
I
Or
will
ma'am,
just,
you can share on the WhatsApp if you
Yes,
want.
ma'am.
I'll just share it
WhatsApp
on the
yes.
WhatsApp. Yeah, I'll just share it on the
I'll just
WhatsApp.
ping you once and you please share it.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.